housing regulations. So we're going to talk about fair housing laws. We already briefly talked about it in the previous chapter, and we're going to talk about leases. Also, I'm going to go brief with the leases because it's not as heavily tested, but fair housing laws definitely. So, actually, what do you guys remember before we get into this? What do you guys remember about fair housing laws? What was the first law of fair housing? Do you guys remember the year at least? 1866. That was the first one. And what did it protect? What kind of class was protected by 1866? Race. Very good. So race, guys, change your when you text me in the chat or with text in the chat, make sure you switch to everyone, not just to me. Race was a protected class, is a protected class as of 1866. Do you guys remember the next big event in fair housing? What year was it? 1968, Masha. Thank you very much. And that was the Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act, or Fair Housing Act. And what did we add as protected classes? We already have race. What else did we add? Gender. Thank you. What else? I'll go with it. Gender wasn't it, but it was added to the Fair Housing Act anyway. So religion, national origin, familial status. Where you got the guys are everybody's saying age, change to familial status. Okay, because age is not a protected class, familial status is. Okay, age is not a protected class, familial status is. So family. Just because you're 16, for instance, and you can get into contracts in certain states, doesn't mean you're protected. Okay, familial status. So there has to be a family with children, or a mother that's pregnant already falls under that category. So what do we have? Marshall. Aliens are protected, shall I? Marital, I know, I'm just messing with you. I know, I'm dyslexic too. She wrote R. Marshall. I'm like, oh, all right. It's okay. Katie says Clorox. Clorox is not a protected class, Katie. Okay, so sorry, just messing with you guys. You know how it is. Sal, camera, come on, man. Always. What do we got? So far, we have race, we have color, we have religion, national origin, gender as a protected class. We have people with disability as a protected class. What else we have? We have familial status, right? Anything else? We talked about sex, baby. No. Yes, that's gender.
That's gender, yeah.
Yes.
Why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Race, always start with race. It's very important. You always start with race because that's the base of the whole fair housing. So race, color, religion, national origin, right? Then we have gender, we have familial status, we have disability. Okay.
It's only New Jersey.
No, that's the national. I still didn't start New Jersey. That's national. I'm just doing a quick review, see what you guys remember. Okay. Military, what federal law was that? Okay. So now let's go to New Jersey. New Jersey. New Jersey has one of the strongest laws against discrimination. Very tough on it. In fact, they picked up the national laws and made it stricter. While national laws only protects these classes that we just went over, Jersey says we're going to add more. So in 1945, under employment discrimination, they acknowledged race, religion, or creed. Guys, get familiar with these words. Creed is faith or religion in this case. Color, national origin. So in 1945, Jersey says, hey, we see you, federal law. We see you, and you just handle race. Because if you guys remember, Religion and national origin was only added in 1968 as a federal law. Look when New Jersey added it. Before the 1968 law. It was in 1945, applicable to employment though, not to housing. But it did start back then. That's how long ago we've been trying to fight discrimination. In 1949, they added this to public accommodations. And Masha, no, you don't need to know any other years. You need to remember 1866 and 1968. Okay, those two you need to remember. Okay, I'm just showing you how New Jersey has been so strict about discrimination laws. Okay, they started in 1945, way before 1968 federal law. In 1949, they added this to the schools. And in 1954, they added this to public housing. Okay, so along the years, they've been fighting and fighting, adding this to the laws. Another thing, federal law, okay, covers, if you guys remember, residential property only. If it's commercial property, you could discriminate. Do you guys remember? Federal law talks about single families and maybe owner occupied 1 to 4 family. Jersey says, any real estate transaction, you cannot discriminate in any real estate transaction, residential, commercial, industrial, it does not matter. You cannot discriminate. That's one thing that New Jersey has. You got to remember, all real property. Okay. And they also added amendments to protect military personnel. Okay. So now, Masha, here's your military. So these are the protected classes. Look at this. Race, creed, do not write anything. No. Don't mark it. Don't mark it. Get a pen because you're going to need this. I'm going to point out 2 things that are going to guaranteed to be in the state exam. School exam or state exam, one of the exams. All right. Anyway, only for those that catch it, huh? So protected classes. As you guys know, we got race, creed or religion, color, national origin, right? Or ancestry. We have gender, right? Sex, so gender. Jennifer, I'm always in a happy mood. Except when you're picking on me. All right. You see here, we have gender, sex, right? And then we have gender identity by itself, right? We also have gender orientation. New Jersey is one of the first states to recognize that we cannot discriminate. Like, you want to identify differently, it's your own persona. Who cares? Okay, I identify myself as a man. You identify yourself as a woman. You want to be whoever you want to be. It's your body. Do whatever you want. Just don't affect me. That's the only thing I tell everybody. As long as you don't affect me, do you. I'm happy for you. All right. So that's what it says. New Jersey allows you to. You want to be gay. You want to be straight. You want to be bi. We cannot discriminate. Guys, do you know how many? You guys are laughing. Do you know how many? You want to be a dog? You're a furry. Yeah. You guys know about that one? The furries. Now that one's crazy. Kids are going to school as cats and dogs in certain places, and they're allowing this to happen. Now that one, I'm a little iffy about that one. Moving forward, we're talking about gender. Okay, New Jersey, and look, how crazy is this that a realtor, true stories, a realtor rejects people based on, or treats people based on how they are, like if they're gay or if they're straight or whatever. Okay, you guys understand? Okay, realtors, guys, come on. Our job, if you guys remember, our job is to help the client so we can make money. Like, I don't care what your orientation is. Just give me my money. I'll help you. Give me my money. All right. It's as simple as that. Just clear your mind, guys. If it doesn't affect you directly, if it's not gonna, like, unless you like it, if it doesn't affect you directly, then go for the money. Seriously. Guys, this is a serious issue because it could take you to jail, lose your license, and even jail time. Okay? Okay, let's see. Wow. Zapti's comment was good. Masha's comment. Ouch. So Zapti says, but if I dress as Batman, I get detention. Cool. Masha goes, it's all about what you got in the bank, not in your pants. My wallet. Related to the bank. Anyway. Guys, very important. The exam will have a question about this, guaranteed. Okay. Another thing, marital, civil union, or domestic partner status. Who cares if you're married or not? Realtors do this, sellers do this, landlords do this. If you're single, maybe. If you're married, maybe not, or vice versa. Okay. The point was for the transaction, for the real estate. Let me be clear. For the real estate transaction, Stephen, who cares if you're married or not? Is your wife next to you? She forced you to say that? Like, come on, right? Your wife cares. All right, next, familial status. This, you guys already know from the federal law, but New Jersey went a step further. Okay, we're going to cover that in a second. New Jersey went a step further. Familial status. Families with children cannot be rejected when it comes to rentals. And I'm going to address something else, why I said rentals only. Okay, mental or physical disability, you guys already know. Source of income. Here's another thing that Jersey has. Source of income. If you are a welfare recipient or Section 8 recipient, as long as your credit is good, nothing else matters. Okay? I don't care about your race, color, religion, national origin, any of that. If your income is legal income, as Section 8 or welfare income is, you cannot discriminate. Okay, write that down. You got to remember. Okay, there's a lot of advertisement out there. No Section 8, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $1,200. No Section 8. You cannot do that. You have to show the property to anybody that would qualify. Section 8 is legal income. Now, if somebody says, "Oh, I make cash," now I can discriminate because there's no way to prove your cash. Okay, unless you prepay the whole year, then that's a different story. Well, sometimes it happens. Okay. Now I don't care what kind of drugs you're dealing. Prepay the whole year in rent. And you're probably wondering why you're saying that. Well, if you're going to prepay the whole year in rent, might as well buy a house, no? You got enough money for the down payment. Something is off. Anyway. Military service, we'll talk about it later. Prohibit activities. You cannot discriminate, same as federal. You cannot discriminate when showing, listing, selling, renting, or advertising residential properties. You cannot, there's exceptions. You guys remember the 55 plus, right? That's an exception. New Jersey specifically states that you can rent rooms to members of the same sex if you want. Just like federal, religious organizations can discriminate as long as it's based on the membership. Okay. And here's another one that you got to remember. It's different from the federal law. I did mention when we were talking about in the federal law, I said owner occupied 1 to 4 family. You guys remember that? Owner occupied 1 to 4 family. That is federal law. I can discriminate against people that are going to live next to me in the 1 to 4 family, according to federal law. Jersey says, nope. I see you, federal law, but I'm going to raise you. Okay, a little poker here. Here's what's happened. Jersey says, if it's a single family, you shouldn't be renting because that's where you live. Either rent the whole thing or not, right? So if it's a single family, it cannot be owner occupied. if it's a rental, it cannot be owner occupied, right? Unless you get it approved by the municipality to be a room rental. 3 and 4, New Jersey says that's a business. So you cannot discriminate. We only allow you to discriminate in duplexes. So it's a 2-family, either side by side or up and down. You guys remember this? Okay. Why am I pointing out federal and state? Because when I got my real estate license, yes, I was a student as well back then. When I got my real estate license, right? I went to take the exam and I'm sitting there. So everything I tell you now, I'm sitting there and I'm telling you not to do stuff like that I did back then. I'm sitting there and I'm stuck on a particular question for literally 14 minutes. Same question, 14 minutes. Now, when I tell you guys to move forward, is because I made that mistake. I was stuck in the question and now I got so much pressure because the timer is going and I still have like, it was like 80 or 90 questions to go. And the timer is going 14 minutes, 1 question. The question was, ready? I'm going to tell you the specific question. Not for you to write it down, it's for you to know how the question was formulated. Because that was a question back then. I don't know if it's still a question today. You never know. But the question was, under state law, they could have said under federal law. What are you writing down over there? He's writing down the question. He's like, okay, under state, okay, under state law, when are you allowed to discriminate? And he gives me 4 answers. When are you allowed? Remember, there's loopholes, the exemptions, right? When are you allowed to discriminate? 4 answers. One of them is owner occupied 1 to 4 family. The other one, I forgot what the answer was. The other one, I forgot what the answer was. But the 4th answer says owner occupied duplex. And I'm like, I'm between none of them because you're not supposed to discriminate. So what got me stuck is I'm learning not to discriminate, 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 right? Here I am. When are you allowed to discriminate? Now I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fail this. Allowed to discriminate? Not supposed to. So the variation of the question is very simple. The variation of the question is very simple. It's either under federal law or under state law. If it's under federal law, that's why you got to read, pay attention and read it. If it's under federal law, owner occupied 1 to 4 family. If the question says under state law, owner occupied duplex. That's it. Okay. But I got stuck for 14 minutes because I'm not supposed to discriminate. My mom taught me that and real estate school taught me that. That's it. Okay. Pay attention to details. Between federal and state, there are differences. Elizabeth, what about 3 family? I addressed that. 3 and 4 family are considered investments. That's what Jersey says. It's a business. So no longer allowed to discriminate. Okay. Duplex because of state. Yes. Jennifer, stop being kind to Masha. She bailed out on us. That's it. That's it. We got people sick and making it to class with a pillow. I am the meanest person in the world. Yes, I've heard that before. All right, blockbusting. Can anybody tell me what blockbusting is? We have 3 things: blockbusting, steering, and redlining. Alexis is superior to me. I don't disagree, she says. I'm just messing with you. Alexander bailed out on us on the 2nd day. So you're good. You did great. You're a trooper. Katie, scare away the seller. Perfect. So blockbusting is when you scare the seller into selling. Okay. Convincing them to sell. Nope. It's convincing to sell. Okay. Blockbusting is forcing the seller to sell because of the entry or prospective entry of minority groups into the neighborhood. Okay? So because of that, New Jersey says you got to keep records of all your solicitations when you go door knocking or when you go mailing or cold calling to more than 3 homeowners in a single block. And you got to keep those records for 1 year. Write it down, please. If you're advertising to more than 3 homeowners in a single block, you must keep records for 1 year. Why? Because if there's any complaint, real estate commission wants to say, hey, show me your records. And why did you skip this door and that door? You went to all the other doors. Why did you skip these 2? Is it because of their race? Is it because of their religion? Is it because of, they want to find a reason or not, hopefully, to go after you or to validate that complaint. Okay. All right. Prohibited brokerage actions. Obviously, you cannot offer, negotiate, or transact or refuse to transact with a protected class. You cannot falsify property availability just because they're from a different race, color, religion, national origin, gender, or whatever. You cannot change the terms, and you cannot refuse to provide loans for transactions. You guys know this. When it comes to enforcement, right here, as I mentioned earlier, you can file a complaint within 180 days. Remember the 6 months? You got to keep the offers for 6 months, the unaccepted offers, right? Because of this, because you got 6 months. If anything happens and you say, hey, they accepted Fernando's offer, but not Alexis's offer, why? And here's a complaint. We got to look at all the offers and say, hey, they were all presented. The seller chose this one because of, well, Fernando had an FHA, Alexis had a VA, and then somebody else had a conventional, and another one had a cash offer. We went for the cash offer faster. I was in the need. You see what I'm saying? So we need to be able to go over these offers and see why one was preferred over the other. If it was not based on race, religion, color, national origin, gender, disability, or any other of the protected classes, you're okay. Okay, so it's part of the investigation. So the violations investigated, then complaints, conciliation for settlement. Recommendations or hearing. If you're found guilty, you can be given a cease and desist order for you to stop discriminating. You could be ordered to pay fines and damages. So you got to be very careful with all that. Jefferson says, let's say you present all offers, but seller didn't give you a reason of why they chose. Does this matter? So, Mr. Realtor, Jefferson, who do you represent? In this case, the seller. And you don't know why your client chose that offer versus another? You didn't discuss with your client of the 10 offers, why this one? When there's better offers, maybe? Mr. Realtor, I'm waiting for your answer. He's typing, he's typing. Jennifer's been putting the Jeopardy song in the morning, so I should put that in. Okay. Let's say you represent the buyer, same scenario. Yeah, but the question goes back to what I'm trying to say. It could be emotional or the seller just chose the best offer for them. Well, Jefferson, Mr. Realtor, do you know if it was emotional or if they chose the best offer? Were you part of that advisory? Were you consulting for them or are you just trying to make money? You see what I'm saying? It's on you. I mean, you're telling me that you don't know why your client chose one offer over another. What kind of realtor are you? You see my point? Whether you represent the seller or represent the buyer. Now, if you tell me that you are a transaction broker, that's a different story. Got it? This is where it starts making a difference of liability. If you represent the seller, you got to go above and beyond for the seller, right? But you have to be aware of these things too. Like Mr. Seller, just to protect you. right? For several reasons. I think the best offer on the table is this offer. Is there any reason why you're trying to choose this offer? Oh, wow, I really don't like those people. First of all, here's what you got to say, Jefferson. Why do you care, Mr. Seller? You're about to leave. You know my point? Oh, but I really don't like that kind of people. And guys, these are true stories. My neighbor, I always say this in every class. My neighbor, where I used to live 5 or 6 years ago, my neighbor wanted to buy a house. And I said, I don't want to work with this guy. He's my neighbor. So I do that a lot, by the way. Family, friends, I say, hey, go to somebody else. Because there's that personal contact already, that emotional contact. So I got him to somebody else. My neighbor at the time. I pushed him to my dad. Let him deal with it. I feel bad for my dad in that scenario. But anyway, my dad goes shows property with him. He showed like over 20 properties. Okay. In Manalapan. Over 20 properties in Manalapan. Every time this guy walked into a property, if the property was owned by a Jewish person, he would walk out screaming, I'm not buying from any effing Jew. Just like that. Hardcore Roman Catholic Italian. Hardcore. I'm not so hardcore. He drinks, he smokes, he curses. So hardcore. But anyway, I'm not buying from no effing Jew. At every I mean, it's Manalapan. There's a lot of them out there. So every single property that they were looking at was, potentially owned by a Jewish person. So the realtor should have sat down with him and say, hey, can't do this. And my dad did. He kind of behaved for like 5 minutes in the next property. But anyway, so then my dad, in order not to lose the client, what he did was, hey, how about we look at land and build? And that's what it is. He bought a brand new construction. He even got to pick the finishing touches and everything. But this is how crazy it is. You as a realtor, you have the control of the situation. You're supposed to be aware of your client's preferences. When they express certain preferences, you got to have that talk with them. And if we talked about this, if they continue to express their racial discrimination, you have to walk away. I'm sorry, I cannot work with you. That's it. You got it? Otherwise, we're going to go to court and I'm going to drill you like I just did. You don't know why your client chose one over the other? Then you're negligent. You're careless in your profession. Then you're going to be hit with penalties or punitive damages because you were careless. You should have known. Right? And, I actually feel, Jefferson, that you're a little racist yourself because you condone this. You allowed this. Oh, but I didn't know. Then you're careless, negligent. Are you guys getting this? Okay, it sucks. But I did read this out to you. By extension, you are your client. They discriminate, you discriminate. Walk away. All right? Right? Oh, I don't need that kind of money. No. It's gonna haunt me later on. Anti-discrimination poster. You guys know there's a federal poster, there's a state poster. We have to have it here that shows that you cannot discriminate. New Jersey does not allow. Landlords and tenants must follow the rental regulations. We can limit the number of tenants in relation to the size of the apartment. If you sorry, I looked down and the message was coming through. My daughter started a new school, right? Apparently she's happy because there's more black people there. My daughter is black, so I got a black daughter, I got a white daughter, and I got a caramel kids. The brothers are caramel. But anyway, so she's excited because there's more black people in there. Too funny. So you guys remember about the family with 7 kids? I think it was Steven that was mentioning, so I gotta be careful with that. We are allowed, for health and safety reasons, we are allowed to restrict the number of people that will live in the apartment. So I can reject you and say, hey, it's a 2-bedroom. There's 2 of you, to the parents, and then there's 7 kids. For health and safety reasons, oh, but we can put a bunch of bunk beds. Doesn't work. Cannot. I reject you. They cannot sue you for that because it's health and safety reasons, and that's based on the municipality, state, and even national health and safety laws. Yeah, melting pot. There you go. All right. Tenants can be rejected if not financially qualified. So credit or income, very important. I cannot refuse to accommodate to same-sex couples if the same apartment was available to couples of the opposite sex. So again, no discrimination. I cannot cancel a lease because he got pregnant. You guys like, what? What are you talking about? Well, I rented the room, I rented the apartment to 2 people. All of a sudden, you decided to get pregnant. One of you decided to get pregnant. And all of a sudden, I go like, hey, congratulations on your pregnancy, get out. No, I cannot do that. But let's route it back to this. But if it's a 1-bedroom, after the baby's 6 months old, if there's 2 parents in the household and the baby's 6 months old, the baby got to have its own room. State law. Okay? So what I can do as a landlord is say, hey, congratulations on your pregnancy, but by state law, I'm giving you a 6 months notice. I'm not telling you get out next month. I'm giving you a 6 months notice to find other accommodations with an extra bedroom. That's it. Okay.
You know where the risk?
I'm sorry.
What is the risk?
It's health and safety reasons. That's what they say. Just like kids after 6 years old, if they're not the same sex, they shouldn't be in the same room. For several reasons. That's after six years old, mainly, kids start exploring. Okay. But for a baby, it's just got to have its own separate room. All right. We cannot say no to service dogs, even though we can say no pets. I can say no pets, but if it's a service or a guide dog, I have to allow those. Now, there's one thing that I want to point out that I didn't yet in this whole page. Federal law addresses the sale and rental. So there's exemptions. There's exemptions for sale and rental, right? State law says the only exemptions that exist in New Jersey is for rentals. New Jersey has no exceptions on the sale because, again, you're getting out of there, so who cares, right? See, back in the day, every neighborhood was very protective of each other. So I'm leaving the neighborhood, but I'm going to make sure that whoever comes in does not disrupt the neighborhood. So if it was an Italian neighborhood and an Italian person left, an Italian person was moving in. If it was a Portuguese neighborhood and the Portuguese left, Portuguese was moving in. So back in the day, they would protect the neighborhoods like that. So discrimination occurred and federal law allowed it. Jersey says no. Only on rentals do we have exceptions. Okay. All right, next we got zoning discrimination. This is called exclusionary zoning. What we're going to talk about now is exclusionary zoning. Exclusionary zoning is where we're excluding certain groups of people from the municipality, because zoning has to do with municipality, right? So now we're going after the municipality. We have Mount Laurel 1 and Mount Laurel 2. Mount Laurel. Does anybody know where Mount Laurel is? Further south, yes. It's further south, yeah. So Mount Laurel wanted to be an elite town. Mount Laurel said, we're not going to have middle and low income people living here. That's what they wanted. So they started excluding certain developments and groups of people. They were rejecting the developments and groups of people. In fact, it got to a point they were making deals with neighboring towns and say, hey, you take them. Crazy, right? So Mount Laurel got sued. In 1975, a decision was made against Mount Laurel that says constructing purely upper level housing in the municipality and condemning substandard housing is illegal. Okay? In fact, municipalities must have zoning that accommodates all income levels. So 1975, it was ruled that every municipality must have housing for low and moderate income. But did Mount Laurel listen? Of course they didn't. That's why there's Mount Laurel 2. In 1983, they got sued again. They got sued again. This time, the court said Mount Laurel 1 stands, and developers have to obtain zoning changes if, or allowed to have zoning changes if they set aside 20% of the project for low income housing. So I'm putting a whole building or a bunch of buildings, whatever my development is, 20% must be for low and moderate income. If the township does not have 20%, then the new development must meet that criteria. Okay, so since 1984, it's been enforced. So bad that a lot of municipalities got sued, including recently Edgewater, Hoboken, and believe it or not, Newark, New Jersey. So these new developments here in Newark, they were trying to be elite developments. If you go to Broad Street, there's one there that's a luxury right in the middle of Broad Street. And they said, you can have luxury apartments, but you also have to have regular apartments with the luxury amenities for low income. Okay. You go to Union, they have it. Like I said, Edgewater, they got sued big time, actually, big time. All of those developments they were having, 400 plus unit buildings, they stalled a bunch of those developments until the lawsuit was over. They had to adapt a bunch of the units to low moderate income. So what they're saying is, look, I know we're accepting the low moderate income now, but we're not going to put high-end appliances. We're not going to put high-end features to the property because there are different groups of people. So we're going to treat it as, are you buying a $200,000 house, or are you buying a $500,000 house, or are you buying $1 million house? So we will provide the housing within the building. But if they want the high-end units, they got to pay for high-end fees. Does that make sense? And that way it's not discrimination, it's a matter of affordability. You got it? So they didn't say, hey, put jade toilets and gold trimming in every single apartment, whether they're low income, moderate, or high. New York got sued, just so you guys know, in Manhattan, actually. They got sued in one building because the building even had separate entrances. And not only separate entrance, the low income people had their own laundromat separate from the high income. Let's not mix our clothes. Not only that, okay, you would get to the 20% low income area, there was no access to the other one. They're completely segregated. You're here, we don't mix. Oh, yeah. It is insane. Like, be in the same building, I get it. I don't have as much money as you, I get it. But don't treat me like I'm different. I'm still a human being. That's pretty much what the lawsuit was about. It was the same as exclusionary zoning almost. All right, Fair Housing Act of 1985 established the Council for Affordable Housing to oversee the low-income housing issue with regarding Mount Laurel. NAR and HUD. NAR and HUD made a partnership. So does anybody know what NAR is? NAR, what is NAR? Say it louder. National Association of Realtors, very good. What about HUD? Housing and Urban Development. So NAR is a private association. HUD is a federal association, okay? Or federal department. These two came together in a partnership to provide a code for equal opportunity where we, through an affirmative action, it's called the voluntary affirmative action, we realtors have to comply with it. Now, we don't sign anything, but we have to comply with it. The idea behind it is to train the realtors to provide equal services to all the clients. We don't sign anything that we're going to comply with it. But if we don't, we could lose our license. Okay? Hefty fines. Right here. This is to avoid discrimination complaints. We got to have the fair housing poster and so on. Advertising guidelines. You got to focus on the property, not on the people. There's a lot of advertisement out there that says, hey, great house for a family. Amazing house for white people. Amazing house for Catholics or Muslims or whatever. So you cannot make your advertisement specific to the people. I don't care what the composition of the neighborhood is. All right. The house, single family, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's what you want to know. Near transportation, great. Near downtown, and we have all these amenities downtown. Great. Focus on the property, not on the people. So you have to avoid exclusionary phraseology. Okay. So now I'll give you this because this is the example in the chapter itself and in the training by HUD. I'll give you the example. An advertisement says 3-bedroom, 2-bath near great Catholic school. What is wrong with that advertisement? 3-bedroom, 2-bath near great Catholic school. We're just talking about a Catholic school. We're not saying anything else. So Masha, let me correct you there. It doesn't target Christians. It targets a certain group of Christians, the Catholics only. So it excludes everybody else. That's the problem. It's not about being a great Catholic school, saying that the other schools are not great. But the moment it says Catholic, what am I trying to attract? Catholics only. What if I'm Jewish and I want to live there? What if I'm from a different Christian denomination and I want to live there? You see? So that's what it is. It excludes non-Catholic people. That's the problem. The same thing as saying the Ironbound is Portuguese. There's other people there. Okay? We talked about this. So no advertisement can be specific to the people. It's the property itself. Testing. Does anybody know what mystery shoppers are? Okay, so mystery shoppers are people that go out there, or secret shoppers are people that go out there and pretend to be a buyer, right? What they're trying to do is evaluate you and your customer service skills, right? They do this for businesses. They usually are paid. Testers are like secret shoppers, but they do it for free. They're voluntary. These are the worst type of secret shoppers, because I'll be a secret shopper for a retail store or for a restaurant because I get to eat and I get to keep the clothes that I bought. Here, it's 100% for free. Let's go after a business or people that discriminate. So their mindset is different. They're looking for your mistakes, okay? This utilizes non-attorney volunteers. Okay, fair housing staff act as buyers, tenants in assessing compliance. They only dictate the weather. Oh, it's Jersey, so we have 4 seasons in one day. They only dictate if the discrimination occurs. Yeah, well, what they're looking for specifically is any type of discrimination, including, as we said, Mount Laurel, including income discrimination. Okay, we can discriminate based on income if the person does not qualify, but everybody's entitled to apply for a loan. If I was messing with you, Masha, you didn't have to correct the weather there. But if the person doesn't qualify for it after going through the whole application process, then I can say, hey, this is not for you. I can discriminate at that point against the income because you don't qualify. I'm not going to show you $1 million house when you make $20,000 a year, right? But what type of treatment did I give you? That's what they want to know. Because you only make $20,000 a year, am I going to treat you like trash and bring champagne and everything else for somebody that makes $500,000 a year? No. Whatever way I treat somebody with a high income must be the same way I treat somebody with low income. Got it? Plus, somebody showing up in t-shirt and baggy pants or shorts and sneakers does not mean that they don't have money. On the contrary, the wealthiest people, they dress very simple. We're the ones that are always trying to shine, but the wealthiest people, yeah, look at Bill Gates, right? Steve Jobs and all those. It's a t-shirt and it looks like the same t-shirt and the same jeans every time. Okay. I don't even know if they ever changed their belts. It looks the same in every picture. All right. Leases. We're going to go briefly over leases, just a few things that that are specific to Jersey. You guys know about the business relationship, you know about the CIS. They don't have anything to prove. That's true. Actually, a great example of that is when you look at Jay-Z, what he used to be and what he is now, how he used to dress and how he dresses now. Jay-Z used to be all like flashy, like most rappers are, and now he's just like simple. I mean, first black billionaire, so very simple the way he dresses up, right? Back then it was just gold chains and everything. Anyway, not as much as like I don't understand that whole gold chain, 1,000 gold chains on your neck, like Mr. T and stuff. All right. So, you guys already know it has to disclose the type of lease. It's binding within 3 business days. You already know that. Attorney review periods. It has to state if it's a month to month or if it's a specific date that will end. Which, by the way, if the lease is not month to month, if there's a specific date, what type of lease is this? What type of lease is this? There's a month to month or periodic estate. What type of lease is this? Don't go back to your notes. Estate for years, not by years, 4 years. Yep. There you go. Estate for years. Okay, that's the definite one. Very good. Specific date. You must state the rent, the due date, the grace period, and the late fees. Everything must be clear. Here's another thing. There must be a section that talks about the secure deposit. In New Jersey, the max we can charge a secure deposit is 1.5 months. Secure deposit. New York is different. Other states might be different, might be higher amount, might be lower amount. State of New Jersey, you got to remember it's 1.5 months max. A state for years? No. How it's returned, the secure deposit. There has to be a clause of how it's returned. So when the lease ends, I have no more than 30 days to return the money when the lease ends. Oh, I've had several bad experiences with leases.
Didn't even give you the interest.
Oh, I'm going to address that now.
It's horrible. I sent you the information.
So at least you got your check back.
Yeah.
But you could sue for the interest, the whole 29 cents. Yeah. So here's the thing. State of New Jersey requires you to deposit this money, write it down, requires to deposit this money into an interest-bearing escrow account. Write it down. New Jersey requires they deposit the secure deposit into an interest-bearing, okay, escrow account in the name of the tenant. So that money belongs to the tenant. Very clear, the secure deposit does not belong to the landlord unless you're Portuguese. Then we use the money for everything else. You know, you got to make the wine in the basement, you know, so we need the money. I can talk about my people, but I know almost there's a lot of people that do this. It's not a racial thing or ethnic thing. It's not knowing thing. A lot of people don't know these rules. A lot of people don't know. They think they buy a house. There's no course on, hey, congratulations, you bought a house. You're a landlord. Here's what you got to do. There's no course on that. So a lot of people buy and they think, oh, I'm the landlord. You're the tenant. You're supposed to pay me and that's it. Give me the secure deposit. And then they don't know how to handle it. Okay? Which at one point, I think it's our fault as realtors, because if we advise them to or help them buy a multifamily, we should give them basic advice on what to do next. We should. Attorneys should do it too, right? But I guess nobody does. Now, this lease must also talk about eviction procedures. The basics, at least, or where you can find the detailed procedures. Okay, we'll talk about the building rules, utility payments, who pays, who doesn't pay, who takes out the trash, who doesn't take out the trash, the landlord heating obligations. If I provide heat during winter time, spring and winter time, then I cannot have it any lower than 68 degrees during the day or 65 degrees at night. So that's a requirement between May 1st and October 1st and May 1st. I have to provide heat no less than 68 degrees during the day, no less than 65 degrees at night. Okay. And before you guys complain about that temperature, there's something called pajamas and also comforters and stuff. You know, winter time is not time for you to be in shorts and t-shirts. Unless you want to pay the difference in the heating bill. That's different. Repairs and maintenance. The lease must state who's responsible for the repairs or basic maintenance. Okay, so sometimes light bulbs, changing filters. We talked about this in the lease, the national portion, right? So it has to be there. The pet policies, the deposits, we talk about it. Landlord entry procedures. This is key in any lease. We talked about it in the national portion as well, that if it's a lease, the landlord can no longer enter without proper notice. State of New Jersey says specifically at least 24-hour notice, written notice. Okay, specifically. You got to disclose lead-based paint. When do we have to disclose lead-based paint? With all properties? All properties we got to disclose lead-based paint? You guys with me? In the beginning. Should I do this in the beginning? In the beginning, should I go for it? In the beginning, there was darkness. On the second day, light. And okay, all right. So, not gonna go Book of Genesis here. Before 1978, if the lease is on the property that was built before 1978, Lewis, then you got to disclose potential lead-based paint to the tenant. If it's in the flood zone, you have to disclose all the contact data. Do you guys know that in New Jersey, it's very specific that the landlords must provide contact information even for the lien holder. Who's the lien holder? Who's a lien holder? You guys don't know who the lien holder is? Who holds a lien against your property? Lien against the property. The lender, the mortgage, the bank. Lien holder. State of New Jersey says that the tenant has to know who the lien holder is. So if you owe money to Bank of America, if the loan is not paid off, the tenant must know. All right? Why? It's very simple. If you default on your mortgage, if a foreclosure action starts, the tenant is protected. Bank of America cannot foreclose on the tenant. They're foreclosing on the landlord. The tenant, if they have a standing lease, they're allowed to stay even after foreclosure. As long as they pay, of course. Right? So the reason behind this is for the tenants to defend their rights on the lease. So if I rent the place and 3 months later there's a foreclosure, you're gonna kick me out? You're gonna raise the rent? No, I got a 1-year lease. That means I got 9 months left at this rate. You cannot kick me out. In fact, when the 9 months are over, you cannot increase more than this rate, whatever the lease says. You cannot break the lease. Okay. You pay to whoever the owner of record is. So until the foreclosure date, until the actual foreclosure is set, you pay the landlord, whoever the owner of record is. The day of sheriff's sale, foreclosed, 100%. That day and on, the payment goes to whoever purchased it, whether it's the bank or an investor. But they have to notify, hey, I'm the new owner of record. All right. Anyway, so there has to be tenants' rights and responsibilities as well. Lease renewals and terms, everything must be laid out in the lease. Now, you were asking me earlier about a document that talks about the rights and duties and foreclosures and evictions and all that stuff. New Jersey has an annual report called Truth in Renting report. Okay? The Truth in Renting Act was created to inform tenants of their respective rights and responsibilities. Okay? So the Truth in Renting Act must be provided to everybody that stays there for more than 1 month. Everybody that stays there more than 1 month. And a statement of where to get it. Like they don't really force you to have all the pages of the Truth in Renting displayed, but a statement of where you can get those rights must be posted in the building. It covers everything we know about leases. It covers the rent, the habitability, discrimination, deposits, evictions, and hazards. So everything is laid out there. So if a landlord says, hey, I'm going to evict you because you're being too noisy, the tenant knows that you got to give me a 3-day notice. So let's say that my tenant's being very noisy and the other tenants are getting upset because they want to sleep or whatever. I have to give a 3-day notice to my tenant and say, hey, just to let you know, we've been getting complaints about the noise. This is your 3-day notice. If it continues, after 3 days, we will start an eviction process. After 3 days. Okay. So you got to give you that notice. So pretty much you got 3 days to party and then we start something. All right. It's the weekend. There you go. Americans with Disability Act. Do I got to go over this? You guys know the rules, right? Americans with Disability Act is for commercial properties or public properties, right? You got to have reasonable accommodations and so on. Rent control. There's no rent control in New Jersey. There's no rent control in New Jersey. Okay. Landlords may increase the rent upon renewal with a 30-day notice to the tenant. So let's say that next month is the renewal month. I got to give you 30-day notice saying, hey, next month, you got to give me an extra $25 a month. You got to give me an extra $500 a month. You got to give me an extra $1,000 a month. New Jersey has no rent control law, so I can charge whatever I want, subject to municipality. the municipality may have rent control. So if you live in Newark, there may be rent control. There is. If you live for certain types of properties. If you live in Elizabeth, it's different than Newark. If you live in Linden, it's different than Newark. If you live in Livingston, there's no rent control. Livingston law only says reasonable increases. Why do I know this? Not because I invest in Livingston, but because a friend of mine years ago was living in Livingston and left because he was forced to. He was paying $1,500 a month for a house in Livingston. Landlord renews it to $2,000 a month, $500 increase. He tried to fight it. The judge says, "Oh, we don't have rent control, and that's a reasonable increase given the situation of taxes and all other expenses around this economy." So it was right after the market crashed. There was a lot of stuff. So the judge says it's okay. If it was in Newark, that would not fly. A $500 increase would not fly. All right. So you have to know that municipalities control the rents. Okay. If it's Section 8 or any other government-sponsored program, it is rent controlled. Doesn't matter where you live. So if there is Section 8 in Livingston, let's say, and you were living in the Section 8 in Livingston, there will be rent control for that program only. Okay. Also for elderly, yes. Okay. Lease termination, we're good with this. New Jersey Anti-Eviction Act, I already told you that you cannot be evicted without notice. All that is in the truth in renting. And I gotta get, if the only way that I can evict you without notice is if it's for non-payment. That's it. If it's because of disorderly conduct, if it's because of destruction of the property, I gotta give you at least 3-day notice for most of these situations. Okay. And I cannot do self-eviction. It has to be a justified cause. I gotta go to court. I cannot do self-eviction. That's illegal. Okay. So I cannot do lockout. I cannot do threats or remove your stuff from the property.